Hello, hello. I'm using a different software and I tried it out a bunch. So I'm trying to see, is it working? Oh, I can see myself in the group. Yay, it's working. Hopefully it will stay that way. Hi. All right, I'm gonna pause for a minute. Let me catch up. Am I catching up? I'm catching up. All right. Hi, hello. Oh my goodness. I promise y'all, I'm going to get better at naming these things, like announcing these things more regularly so that you can show up live. I like talking to people, so you got to show up with me. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because you know me, I don't want to keep you all day. We don't have time for that. But I do think that getting some powerful insights and tips and things like that are 100% necessary as we are trying to raise our family differently from how we were raised. Okay, so are you ready to go from reactive to responsive? I'm so excited about this series. I've been talking to a lot of you in here, and what I keep hearing over and over again, and even in my programs and everything, everybody's like, I just want to react differently. I want to respond more. I want to be more regulated, all of these things. So I'm doing this 3-part series to help with that. Okay, so if you are excited to respond more than you react, you're going to love this series on breaking the cycle of reactive parenting. Okay, so as we start, let me know, where in the world are you? Put it in the chat if you're watching this on replay, #replay. Let me know, where in the world are you? Okay, I'm going to try my best not to look over there because I'm just going to see myself, but I'll check it out every once in a while. Let me know, where in the world are you? And yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so here's the thing. We all fall into cycles. Some of the cycles are helpful and some of them not so much, right? But here's the thing that we all have to realize, especially those of us who are working really hard to break those unhelpful cycles that were handed down to us as children. We have a bit of an uphill battle, but it is totally possible. Okay. And this is where it starts. So hello, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Lynyetta Willis, psychologist and family coach. I help frustrated, high-achieving families create the connection that they crave so that couples are excited to grow old together and the kids want to visit when they're older. And in this 3-part video series, we're going to walk through my reverse reaction framework that's going to help you minimize those reactions that you swore you'd never launch toward your kids and create the tools you really need to respond. Yes, even during those most frustrating moments. Okay, so let's dive in. So what sets off your reaction towards your child? Put that in the chat for me. I'm curious. What types of things set you off? I know you know them because I've been talking to you in the DMs and you've been telling me. So, and in the posts. So let me know, what is it that sets you off? What's that thing that happens? Now, if you're like most of the parents that I work with, and sometimes like me, your knee-jerk response will be something like, oh, my kid, when they do that thing or when they don't listen, or my teen, when they get an attitude because I ask them to do the littlest thing. Okay? Does that track? All right. Keep putting in the chat. I want to know what sets you off. And while you are doing that, while you're putting it in the chat, I want to kind of go through a cycle that I hear from a lot of parents, and I want you to let me know if this tracks for you. So your kid does that thing, it sets you off, triggers you, right? And then you react, all right? Let me know how you react in the chat. I'm curious. So I'm going to stop saying I'm curious. So number 1 is, what does your child do that triggers you or sets you off? Number 2 is, how do you tend to react? Do you yell? Do you go on long tirades about the ingratitude? Or maybe bring down the hammer and take away the phone, the video games, Christmas, Halloween, Yom Kippur, even if you don't celebrate any of those? Or maybe you go in the other direction and you shut down, give up, or give in. And then the cycle continues. You pick yourself up, you get it together, maybe put on some Eye of the Tiger, right? You read a book, you listen to a podcast, gives you some awesome tips, right? Like, I don't know, take 5 deep breaths or how to get your kids to listen, you know? And then you start to feel confident and you're like, I can do this. I can do this. And then that moment happens again and you do it. You do really well until you don't. Yeah. And then you quickly realize that that book that you just read or that podcast you just listened to, your kid didn't read them. So they don't know their part of the script and they just keep seeming to push those buttons. And then you react again and then you feel guilty again and the cycle continues. Can you identify with this cycle, with this process? Right? The kid does the thing, you blow up, you shut down, guilt rushes in, and you create a plan, you do all the things, it's going to be different next time. And then the kid does the thing again, you start off really well until you blow up or shut down again, and the guilt rushes in and the cycle continues. Right? Let me know if that resonates with you. And then you're like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do? Maybe you're like, I have degrees. I have multiple degrees. I should be able to not yell. Or maybe you're like, I run a household, an entire household. I should be able to not just go off on my kid. Why can't I do this thing? I run entire teams of people with all different types of personalities. Why can't I keep it together? What's going on? Right? I heard from many of you. But what if I told you that part of the reason why you're not able to consistently turn those reactions into helpful responses is because you're trying to fix the wrong thing? Imagine trying to put out a fire by getting rid of the smoke. Sounds crazy, right? The smoke is just the consequence of the fire. To deal with the smoke, you have to find and deal with the fire. The same is true for your reactions. Your reactions, they're just smoke. They're not the real issue. They're not the fire. So part of your issue is that when you're running around and trying to stop yelling, or my favorite reaction, stop lecturing, and find it hard, it's likely because you're not as clear as you think you are on the true behavior or experience that's causing you to get triggered and react. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know if in the chat that makes sense. Now, in most cases, what's really setting off your reaction, it's not what you think. And if you're constantly trying to fix the wrong thing, of course, it's going to impact your relationship with your child. Right? And this is where I differ from most parenting experts who tell you to just take deep breaths or, when you're in triggered mode. Now, I'm not knocking breath work. It works. There's a ton of research to support this. Okay. But deep breaths and similar strategies will fail if they're not the best strategy for putting out the fire that's really triggering you, that's really setting you off, that's really leading to the smoke that is your reaction. Okay. But today, I'm going to show you how to use the first step in my reverse reaction framework, which is reveal your real reaction, to help you get clear on what's really setting you off so that you can design a response to the right issue, not the one you think you're dealing with. Now, once you identify what's really setting you off, then we can talk about tools that you can use to help you react less. So let me give you some examples, okay? My daughter, my darling daughter, got into this phase. Let me know if you've been here yet, where I would say something that she didn't like, and then she would give me like a snarky response. And I'd be like, I carried you in my belly. I fed you on my breast. How dare you give me? Anyway. Now, when I get angry or triggered, I get super logical and I communicate. That wasn't helpful. Let me give you 15 reasons why in this fully completed PowerPoint presentation. That's what I do. Okay. So I did the logical thing and I was trying to explain to her why that wasn't okay, la, la, la. And I came up with ways to deal with my unhelpful reaction to her snarkiness. Can you believe she didn't appreciate my PowerPoint presentation? What? So I would use shorter sentences, or I'd get curious about why she's so snarky so I could understand her better. Yeah. And she'd do it again and I'd hold myself together for a little while until I didn't. And then I'd find myself firing up the PowerPoint again. Pro tip, when a tool doesn't work, that's a great sign that it might be the wrong tool or that you're trying to fix the wrong problem. Yeah. So the next time it happened, I got curious, which is what I'm going to invite you all to do today. I got curious about exactly what triggered my reaction, and I had a eureka moment. I realized that when my daughter would make snarky comments, I was actually pretty regulated around that. You know when I became dysregulated? When my husband would whisper comments that only I could hear about how we really need to nip this in the bud, or it'll only get worse. Or, she'll do this with her employers and with teachers, and then there'll be a problem and nobody will like her, and gloom and doom and Armageddon and rah, right? He started doomscaping. He started doomcasting. So when I did detective work, I realized, crap, it's not her snarkiness that's leading to my reaction, right? That's not the fire. The fire wasn't her snarkiness. Don't get me wrong. It didn't help, but that wasn't the fire. The fire was his doomscaping or his doomcasting, right? And his fear response would trigger my fear response. So I realized in all the things I was trying to do, they weren't helping because I wasn't dealing with the right issue. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat if that tracks, if that example tracks for you around why we need to get super clear on what exactly it is we're trying to change, right? You can't minimize a reaction if you don't know what's starting it. And here's another example. So there is a dad in my Triggered to Transform parent coaching program who thought his kids' distracted and slow movements in the morning were triggering his angry, we gotta go reactions, right? Have you ever had that? The morning routine craziness. But when he tracked his reaction, he realized that he only reacted on days when he had morning meetings at work. So it's his fear of being late for his morning meetings that were actually leading him to react. So can you see why him calming his anger towards his kids wasn't really helping consistently? It wasn't dealing with the part of him that was shouting, we gotta go in the moment, right? One more. There's a mom in the program who was reacting to her teen's flippant attitude towards his messy room. He'd be like, whatever. I think he and my daughter probably should hang out now that I think about it. But anyway, so she would say things like, when you get a house, you can keep it as messy as you want. But in my house, we keep this room clean. Have you ever heard that or said that? Now, for some reason, that wasn't motivating him very much. Go figure. And they'd end up in a huge battle. But when she tracked her reaction, she realized it actually wasn't his flippant attitude that was leading her to react. That wasn't where the fire was, right? It was the sight of his room that first triggered her reaction. Now, I'm not saying, similar to me, that his flippant attitude didn't help. It did not help. But she realized that even when he wasn't home, the sight of his room led her to feel physical discomfort and agitation in her body, and would lead her to react even when he wasn't there. Have you done that? When like your kids aren't there or someone's not there and you start talking at them anyway, even though they're not there? I know I do that. So she was doing that. We even did an experiment on the call. I said, I want you to close your eyes and just picture his room. And she was like, yep, there it is. So she realized that his flippant attitude wasn't triggering it. It wasn't setting her off. It escalated it, but it wasn't what kicked off her reaction. So can you see why working on his flippant attitude and her reaction towards it wasn't really helping? The reaction is what you see initially. It's the smoke, right? Lets you know that something's going on. Needs not being met. Something's going on. It's what's noticed. It's not in and of itself the issue. The fire or the issue that sparks the reaction, that's the issue. And if you're not clear on what that issue is for you, you can't minimize the reaction. You can't put out the fire if you don't know where it is. I don't care. You're just waving at the smoke. That's not helpful. Right? The fire, the smoke is evidence that there is a fire. It is not the actual fire. You've got to find the fire and pull it out and put it out to minimize the smoke, i.e. your reaction. So this week, I want you to focus less on the smoke, focus less on your reaction. Now, I know this whole thing is supposed to be about minimizing your reactions, but that's not where we're starting. Okay, we're not starting with minimizing your reaction, the yelling, the lecturing, the shutting down. Don't focus there, not yet. I know that sounds weird because everybody tells you, just stop yelling, just stop blah, blah, blah. No, that's not where you need to focus. Do it. Do what you do. Do your normal thing, okay? But when you do the thing, when you have the reaction, look for the fire. Look for that thing that's really triggering your reaction. What set me up? What happened? What happened? Was your partner in the room? Did you have an image in your head? Like, what was it? What set you off? Okay. Let me know in the chat. Am I making sense? Are you tracking? Is this tracking for you? If not, ask me what your questions. Okay. We got to figure out where the fire is. The reactions are just the smoke. Can't start with the smoke. So what's your biggest takeaway so far? I'm curious. What is your biggest takeaway? Type that in the chat. Also, would it be helpful to receive notes, my notes from today's live, just so you can have them to review as you go through the week, have them in your face? Write notes in the chat and I'll DM them to you if that would be helpful to you. I don't mind sharing that at all. So write it down and I'll try and make them kind of pretty and I'll send them to you. So what the question is, what are you really reacting to? This is the first thing that you must get clear on before you can talk about minimizing your reactions. Otherwise, you're just waving the smoke around. Okay. So this week, you're going to experiment with exploring the first step in the reverse reaction framework, which is reveal what you're really reacting to. But of course, this leads to a new question that we'll address next week. So once you learn the what you're reacting to, true transformation begins when we start to understand the why. Why are we reacting the way that we are? Okay. Now, this understanding is important because it's not just about managing your reactions in the heat of the moment. Okay? We have to address the underlying roots, the why, to create consistent change. So next week, once you have that, so you got to do this week's homework. You got to do it. Once you have the what you're reacting to, next week, we're going to explore step 2 of the reverse reaction framework, the roots. We'll uncover which of the 3 most common roots of your reactions that you need to deal with to truly minimize or eliminate those most unhelpful reactions. Okay, so don't miss it. Hi, Laura. Yes. Laura says, notes, please. They're coming your way. Love this message. I just reacted today, and now I need to look at why I reacted. Yes. Thank you for saying that. So you get it. You understand. And when you do, let me know. I want to know. Let us know. Come back and post, okay? All right. So don't miss next week because you got to figure out the why. You can't stop here. All right? And as you are going through this, please come back. Post, let me know the what. Let me know what you're figuring out. Let me know your questions that you have. Okay, if you're like, I got a little stuck, I'm not really sure. Come back, let me know. I am here for you. I am here with you. We're going to break these cycles. We're going to up-level these legacies. We're going to have homes that our kids want to return to. We're going to have partnerships that we want to grow old in. This is going to happen. Okay, this is a movement, people. We're going to make it happen. All right, I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye now.